Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are using the Thomas Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 735, Upon Concluded Lives. Concluded, of course, here meaning those who have passed, those who have died. We are back to another death poem, 734. The poem we just finished is in that same family. Just to remind, we are assuming you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hoping you worked through a set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 734 poems. We just finished with 734, as we said, if he were living. And as we commented in that discussion, we will say again here, Emily has the courage to face death. But she does point out that passing or death involves two different sides of the coin. Think about the fact that Emily is writing a set of lines like this right in the middle of the American Civil War. We mustn't forget that. And she says there's the past, the dead, who move on to heaven, and therefore their concluded lives are living well in the afterlife. But it is those of us who remain who have to find the cool, the C-O-O-L, that is to say, the come to live with the fact that those we care about have moved on. She'll say it this way: upon concluded lives, there's nothing cooler falls than life's sweet calculations. The mixing bells and pulls makes lacerating tune to ears the dying side. 'Tis coronal and funeral saluting in the road. Notice road here capitalized. Can't help but think of Pilgrim's Progress, Bunyan's classic, when she uses the word road in that way. And of course, we'll think about her contemporary Walt Whitman's Song of the Open Road. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net over all the poems of Whitman. Notice she says, upon concluded lives, those who have already passed, there's nothing cooler falls. In other words, they are in heaven, they are enjoying the afterlife, and therefore there's nothing else that can touch them. However, all of life's sweet calculations, I told you guys she loves this word sweet in 113 of her poems. Calculations, that is to say, the calculations of the thoughts of the living. Well, what do the living do? Well, they mix, so they bring together bells, that is to say church bells or the bells of heaven, however you wish it, and palls, that is to say the funeral procession, and we'll get to funerals in a second. Notice that makes a lacerating tune, and this use of the word lacerating I think is so powerful. She rarely uses this word, and it is of course a cutting, the tune. It can be at the same time happy and sad, if you will, right? Happy to know that they're in heaven, sad of course to know that we miss them. To ears, the dying side, this is her poetic way of calling the mourners, right? 'Tis coronal, over related to triumph, dash, and funeral. Emily's ability to bring the two together in the funeral procession. You'll remember a funeral from 280. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, an eye, and silence, some strange race wrecked solitary here. And then a plank broke, in reason broke. And then a plank in reason broke. And I dropped down, and hit a world at every plunge, and finished knowing. Then, when we get to 945, we'll come back to this use of the word funeral. This is a blossom of the brain, a small italic seed, lodged by design or happening. The spirit fructified, shy as the wind of the chambers, as of his chambers, swift as a freshet's tongue. So of the flower of the soul, its process is unknown. When it is found, a few rejoice, the wise convey it home, carefully cherishing the spot, if other flower become. When it is lost, that day shall be the funeral of God. Upon his breast, a closing soul, the flower of our Lord. And when we finally get to 1732, we'll have to come back to this poem. My life closed twice before its close. It yet remains to see if immortality unveil a third event to me, so huge, so hopeless to conceive, as these that twice befell. Parting, is all we know of heaven and all we need of hell. As she finishes, notice she says, there is a salutation, a saluting, along with our calculations that involve both the carnal as well as the funeral, that involve both the bells as well as the palls. I think the point she's making here at 2a is that the real funeral is for those who are left to mourn. And the celebration, of course, is by those who have died and gone on to the afterlife of heaven. At 2b, I love the key words here of calculations and lacerating. I think it's amazing the way she uses those words. At 3a, well, I think 1732 is a classic example. Think about the poems of death that she loved, especially, of course, Dante's Divine Comedy. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. Finally, at 3b, to own a poem like this, in your own life, who will you miss most once they are gone out of this life? What calculations are you doing there? Thank you.